This is a start towards a much greater future. So don't think about how to protect a business. Think about where you want to be. And as that, I want to bring up Seattle. Now, most of you, when I say Seattle, probably have a pretty positive attitude. But I really want you to think about this. Town is captured between the ocean and a mountain. If you think northern Wisconsin weather is bad, try spending a spring and a winter in Seattle when it's constantly wet. I went there to golf one time. They actually wear galoshes with cleats on them. They told me, Adam, if you don't want to golf in the rain, you don't get to live in Seattle, right? It was that simple. Not only that, they have earthquakes, big earthquakes. And then people have to live on islands. So commuting means taking these ferries, which can sometimes take 45 minutes just to get from A to B, and then you may have to take a bicycle and another stretch of the leg. I can sit here and give you hand and verse all the problems of being Seattle. And for a long time, that was the way they thought of themselves. The port of Seattle was very important. Why? Because it moved timber out of the state, right? It was a nice port for taking all those trees and all the pulp, getting it out of the state, and bringing in all those shipments from Asia. So the port of Seattle had its own branding. Very important in the industrial era, right? And they had been successful in building themselves as a center of aerodynamics with Boeing Corporation. But they started to think about this. Is that really the future of where we want to be? And as the tech industry exploded in California, and people complained, I mean, people still complain about the high cost of having a tech business in Northern California. It's hard to hire people. People have to be paid huge amounts of money because it's expensive to live there. It's very hard to keep people in that part of the world. These were all the complaints. These go back to the 1970s. And they started to target that industry. And what did they get? Microsoft. And now you start to see what you've done in terms of changing the dynamics of thinking about the future of your city. Microsoft begets this wonderful PC boom, which then starts the wave that becomes the internet, and you get this guy who says, if I'm going to start up an e-commerce business that's going to be focused on technology, I want to go to a technology center, and he picks Seattle, right? They didn't go out and make that happen by talking about building airplanes. Those left things, those were industrial era wins. Now, Boeing is headquartered in Chicago, and they build more planes in Charleston, South Carolina than they do in Seattle and Tacoma. Is Seattle a loser? No, you can't say that, and I know you won't say that. They're a winner by a huge stretch. But this is the point of planning. This is the point of saying I'm going to promote a value proposition. I'm going to go with trends. I'm going to move to where the future is going to be. And the future was all around technology, and that's where they placed their bets.